Hello and welcome, I'm Lakshmi Gopal. So let's begin with that breaking news in South Korea, where Parliament has voted to remove President Yoon Suk Yeol from power over his short-lived declaration of martial law 12 days ago. Yoon will be suspended immediately from office and the Prime Minister will become the acting president. It follows an earlier impeachment vote last week that failed, you may remember. Well, here was the moment the results of the impeachment vote was announced.
204 in favor out of 300. Against is 85. And I announce it has passed.
Well, these were the jubilant scenes as tens of thousands of protesters who had gathered outside the National Assembly received the news. And we can show you some live scenes now of the protesters still there in the aftermath of receiving that news. As you can see, yes, celebratory scenes there. People have been singing Into the New World by the K-pop group Girls' Generation as fireworks broke out overhead. And as you can see, they continue to stay in place in reaction to the news of the impeachment. Well, let's speak now to my colleague Laura Bicker, who for many years was our Seoul correspondent and is watching events from Beijing, where she is. Laura, first of all, you can see the reaction from the protesters there. This is a really significant moment for them, isn't it?
Huge moment. For the last 12 days, South Korea has been in political turmoil. They watched in horror as on that Tuesday night, late at night, President Yoon declared martial law. Now that sent chills through a country that had for decades fought authoritarian rule. For many of the young people on the streets that you are seeing partying now, their parents, their grandparents fought for democracy. Some of them died for democracy. And here they are once again defending it on the streets. And that is how they see it. Those parties will continue well into the night. Now, when it came to this impeachment vote last week, the opposition party tried to push towards impeachment, but President Yoon's own party, the ruling party, boycotted the vote. There was huge disappointment. But over the last week, the pressure has gone up. The mood has changed. And that is because more details about what happened that night have emerged. We've heard that President Yoon had ordered that the leaders of the opposition and the chairman of his own party, along with many other members of the National Assembly, would be rounded up by the army and put in a detention centre. President Yoon himself stayed quiet most of the week and then made an impassioned plea on Thursday saying he would fight until the end. It became increasingly clear to his own party that he would not step down, that he would not resign, and that he would have to be impeached. And that is what has led to this vote in the last hour.
And Laura, people listening to what you've been saying may well wonder, what on earth was Yoon thinking? Because surely this was a gamble that was set to fail.
This was a huge political gamble. Look, the question that we've been trying to answer since he declared martial law is, what on earth was he thinking? I think you have to look at where President Yoon comes from. He was not a politician, he was a prosecutor, and he rose to prominence by prosecuting two former presidents. And then he won an election, but only just. It was by less than 1%, about 0.7, 0.8%. So he didn't really have the kind of power that he hoped for right from the start. He struggled with the opposition party and he struggled within his own party to get anything done. Increasingly isolated, he has felt and certainly seems to have been listening to conspiracy theories about rigged elections, and also he feels that he's up against constant forces that he believes are pro-North Korean voices, and he believes that the only way to get rid of those voices was to declare martial law. That was certainly his defence. So it gives you an insight into what he was thinking. It has to be said that there is absolutely no evidence for those claims whatsoever. Even his own party do not agree with him when it comes to those claims about rigged elections and pro-communist forces. So that is what perhaps he was thinking. Now he will no longer be president. He will be stripped of his powers. It will go to the Prime Minister, and the next steps are that this decision has to be ratified and reviewed by the Constitutional Court. If the court decides, and this could take many months, if the court decides that it is constitutional, then another presidential election will be called.
Laura Bicker, thank you. We will be returning to you later. That's our correspondent, Laura Bicker there. Well, let's speak now to Malena Jensen, who's East Asia analyst and journalist at Weekend Avisen. Thank you for joining us, Malena. So we've been hearing about the fact that his own ruling party had concerns about Yoon's behaviour and what came to light. Does this, however, damage the ruling party as a result? Because, of course, they initially abstained in the impeachment vote earlier.
I do believe that the ruling party, the People's Power Party, they will suffer some kind of loss due to this. It's highly likely that next time there will be an election in South Korea, the Democratic Party will get the president post. However, it's also worth noting that the People's Power Party have a history with presidents who are put in front of, put to jail and put in front of these prosecutions. Just in 2017, their past leader, Park Geun-hye, was put 25 years in prison for corruption. So it's not really new from this party.
And what happens now? Because we have been hearing from some protesters who say while they're celebrating this moment, the fight isn't over and they're waiting to see what the court's judgment will be before things are finalised.
I think a lot of South Koreans see this as some kind of victory for democracy. South Korea is a country that has a history of a lot of military coups. And a lot of presidents that have been involved in corruption cases and have been assassinated, committed suicide. So it definitely has a very political, chaotic and violent history. So the fact that Yoon Suk Yeol tried to impose martial law and failed, I believe is seen as a huge victory for the Korean people.
And protesters have been united, haven't they, by this single goal of removing Yoon. How likely do you think they are to rally around whoever his successor might be?
Sorry, can you ask that one more time?
Yeah, sure. The protesters have unified around this one goal to remove Yoon from the presidency. How likely are they to still be united and rally around whoever replaces him?
I think that's very difficult to say. The South Korean population is not really known to be that unified at all. If you look at South Korea, there are a lot of issues right now, and it's very polarized in the debate about, for example, LGBT plus, about gender equality, equality in work. We have a lot of seniors who are very poor and have bad working conditions. So South Korea is not really known to be a unified country at all. So I think it's unlikely that the population will now just vote in a next president whom they will be completely satisfied with or completely opposed to. I think it will be very divided.
Malena Jensen, thank you for your analysis there. That's Malena Jensen from Weekend Avisen.